You ever notice how the loudest people in the room are usually the weakest? Always barking, always probing, always begging to be feared. But you're different. You don't raise your voice. You don't announce your moves. You don't waste energy trying to look dangerous. Because real danger doesn't need an introduction. They call you. Quiet, they call you. Mysterious. Some even laugh and think you're harmless. That's the funny part. Because while they were busy performing, you were observing. While they were reacting, you were calculating. While they were losing control, you were mastering it. See, intimidation only works on people who are afraid of chaos. But you became friends with it. You don't fight every battle. You don't answer every insult. You don't prove yourself to every clown that wants attention. No, you just handle nonsense differently. Cold mind, calm heart, sharp awareness. And that scares people more than anger ever could. Because they can't predict you. They can't provoke you. They can't control you. And the truth is, the quiet ones aren't silent because they're weak. They're silent because they already know exactly how dangerous they could be if they stopped being nice. The silence is something most people misunderstand. They think if a person is quiet, it means they are weak, scared, or have nothing to say. But what they don't realize is sometimes silence is not emptiness, it is control. It is discipline. It is knowing that not every situation deserves your words. While others are busy reacting emotionally, trying to prove something, trying to win arguments that don't even matter, you choose to stay quiet, and that alone changes the whole power dynamic. People who talk too much usually reveal everything about themselves. Their anger, their insecurity, their jealousy, their plans, they put it all on display without even realizing it. But when you stay silent, you become unpredictable. Nobody can read your next move. Nobody knows what you are thinking. And that uncertainty makes people uncomfortable. A silence forces people to think. When you don't respond to disrespect the way they expected, they start questioning themselves. When you don't react to provocation, they lose their script. They were ready for drama, ready for noise, ready for a reaction. But you gave them nothing. And nothing is sometimes the most powerful response you can give. There is also strength in knowing that you don't need to explain yourself to everyone. Weak people feel the need to justify every action, every decision, every boundary. Strong people understand that not everyone deserves access to their thoughts. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Your silence becomes a filter that separates who is worth your energy and who is not. Being silent doesn't mean you don't see what's happening. It usually means you see everything. You notice the fake smiles, the hidden competition, the small signs of disrespect, the people who secretly hope you fail. But instead of reacting emotionally, you store the information. You observe patterns. You learn who people really are when they think nobody is watching. That's the difference between reacting and understanding. Most people react instantly because they are controlled by their emotions. But when you stay silent, you show that your emotions don't control you. You choose when to speak. You choose when to act. You choose when something is worth your attention. That level of self-control is rare, and rare things always make people nervous. Silence also protects your energy. Every argument you avoid is energy saved. Every pointless debate you ignore is mental strength preserved. Every time you refuse to engage in negativity, you are investing in your own peace instead of feeding someone else's chaos. Some people will try harder to provoke you because of this. Your calmness becomes an insult to their instability. Your patience becomes a mirror, showing them their lack of control. They may call you cold, arrogant, or detached simply because they cannot understand how you refuse to play their emotional game. but what they call cold is often just emotional discipline. There is also a dangerous side to silence that most people never think about. A silent person is usually thinking, improving, planning, and growing while others are distracted. While they are gossiping, you are evolving. While they are complaining, you are adapting. While they are underestimating you, you are preparing. And nothing shocks people more than someone they underestimated. Silence gives you space to think clearly. Noise creates mistakes. Emotional reactions create regret. But silence gives you time to see the bigger picture. It allows you to respond intelligently instead of reacting impulsively. Many people destroy opportunities because they could not stay quiet for one moment. Many conflicts become permanent because someone could not control their tongue for a few seconds. You understand something they don't. Not every victory needs applause. Not every move needs to be announced. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Sometimes the most powerful position is the one where you say less and understand more. When you master silence, you start noticing how uncomfortable people become around it. Some will try to fill the gap with nervous talking. Some will try to impress you. Some will try to test you. Some will even tell on themselves because they cannot handle the psychological pressure of someone who simply watches and listens. And that is when silence stops being just quietness. It becomes presence. Most people think strength is about reacting fast, saying something clever immediately, showing anger when disrespected, proving they can't be pushed around. But what they don't realize is reacting instantly usually means someone else is controlling your emotions. If someone can make you angry whenever they want, they are basically holding the remote control to your mind. And most people never even notice this happening. You chose a different approach. Instead of reacting, you calculate. Instead of jumping into emotional battles, you step back mentally and watch what is really happening. You understand that every situation has layers. Words are not just words. Actions are not just actions. People always reveal their intentions if you pay enough attention. While others are busy defending their ego, you are studying behavior. This is why you don't respond immediately. Not because you are slow. Not because you are scared. But because you understand something very few people understand. The first reaction is usually the weakest position. The person who reacts first often loses control first. You let people talk. You let them show their attitude. You let them think they got under your skin. But inside, you are measuring everything. You measure tone. You measure respect. You measure intention. You measure patterns. Because you know one important rule. People always show you who they are, especially when they think you are not paying attention. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't just see the words. You see the insecurity behind them. When someone tries to compete with you for no reason, you see the comparison they are fighting inside themselves. When someone tries to disrespect you publicly, you see their need for validation. That's what calculating means. Seeing beyond the surface. Reacting is emotional. Calculating is psychological. Reacting gives satisfaction for a moment. Calculating gives advantage for a long time. You also understand timing. Timing is something emotional people never master. They speak when they are angry. They act when they are hurt. They decide when they are frustrated. And then later they regret it because emotions are temporary, but consequences are permanent. You refuse to let temporary emotions create permanent damage. So instead, you pause. You think. You analyze outcomes. You ask yourself simple but powerful questions. Is this worth my energy? Is this person important to my future? Is this situation even real or just ego drama? Will reacting improve anything? And many times the answer is no. That is why your calmness confuses people. They expect instant reactions because that's what they are used to. They expect anger because that's how most people respond. But when you give them patience instead of emotion, they lose their advantage. Because emotional people only know how to fight emotional battles. They don't know how to fight someone who is thinking. You also understand that not every disrespect deserves confrontation. Some deserve distance. Some deserve silence. Some deserve permanent removal from your life. Calculating means choosing the right response instead of the loudest response. Another thing you understand is that information is power. Every time you stay calm while someone else is emotional, they reveal more than they should. Angry people expose weaknesses. Jealous people expose intentions. Fake people expose their masks when they feel ignored. And you just watch, not in a negative way, not in a revenge way, but in a smart way. Like someone playing chess, while others are playing street fights. You don't need to win every moment. You just need to avoid losing the important ones. Calculating also means you don't waste your strength trying to win arguments with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Some people don't want truth. They want reaction. They want attention. They want emotional chaos. And you learn that denying them that reaction is sometimes the biggest victory. Because nothing frustrates a manipulative person more than someone they cannot emotionally control. You also became comfortable with being misunderstood. Because thinkers always are. People who react emotionally get quick approval because they are predictable. But people who think before acting often look different. Sometimes distant. Sometimes unreadable. Sometimes even intimidating. But you accepted that price. Because you know being understood by everyone usually means you are thinking like everyone. And you refuse to live on that level. So while they rush, you observe. While they shout, you listen. While they react, you prepare. And while they think you are doing nothing, you are making sure when you finally move, it actually matters. Most people try to earn respect by being loud, aggressive, or dominant. They think if they talk the toughest, act the roughest, or show the most attitude, people will automatically respect them. But what usually happens is the opposite. Fear might appear for a moment, but real respect never grows from noise. Real respect grows from control, from consistency, from the way someone carries themselves when things get difficult. You understood something many people learn too late. Being loud might get attention, but being controlled earns respect. Anyone can shout. Anyone can lose their temper. Anyone can try to look tough when emotions take over, but very few people can stay composed when they are tested. Very few people can control their tongue when they are angry. Very few people can walk away when their ego is screaming for a reaction. That kind of control is rare, and rare qualities naturally command respect. You don't try to dominate every room you enter. You don't need to prove you are the smartest or the strongest. You let your behavior speak before your words do. You let your discipline show before your opinions do. You let people figure you out slowly instead of forcing an image. And that patience creates a different type of presence. People start noticing small things. The way you don't overreact. The way you don't gossip. The way you don't chase approval. The way you don't fold under pressure. These things may look small on the surface, but psychologically they send a strong message. This is someone who knows themselves, and nothing earns quiet respect faster than someone who is clearly not trying to impress anyone. You also understand that control is not just about anger. It is about everything. Controlling your habits, controlling your reactions, controlling your focus, controlling your words. Anyone can act right when things are easy, but control shows itself when situations become uncomfortable. When someone tries to disrespect you, and you don't immediately explode, that shows control. When you could argue but choose peace, that shows control. When you feel pressure but still stay focused, that shows control. And people notice it even if they never say it. There is also a psychological effect to this. When people see someone who cannot be easily shaken, they automatically become more careful around them. Not because they are scared of violence, but because they sense emotional strength. They sense boundaries. They sense stability. Uncontrolled people create drama. Controlled people create standards. And standards force people to either respect you or distance themselves. You also learn that respect is not something you demand. The moment someone has to demand respect loudly, it usually means they don't have it naturally. Real respect shows itself in how people treat you when you are not trying to force anything. It shows in how they speak to you. It shows in how they include you. It shows in how they hesitate to cross your boundaries. And most of that comes from how you control yourself, not how you try to control others. Another thing you understand is that emotional reactions often reduce credibility. When someone loses control easily, people stop taking them seriously over time. They may be entertaining, they may be loud, they may even look powerful for a moment, but deep down people see instability. But when someone is emotionally balanced, their words carry more weight. When you finally do speak strongly, people pay attention because they know you don't do it often. When you finally show disapproval, it matters because they know you are not dramatic. Control gives your actions value. You also learn to control where your energy goes. You don't try to correct everyone. You don't try to fight every wrong. You don't try to fix every misunderstanding. Because you know your energy is limited and valuable. You invest it where it matters. You protect it where it is wasted. You withdraw it where it is not respected. This also makes people realize something important about you. You are not easily manipulated. You are not easily dragged into unnecessary conflicts. You are not easily impressed or easily broken. That emotional independence creates a natural boundary around you, and boundaries are the real foundation of respect. Without boundaries, people test you endlessly. With boundaries, people think twice. And the strongest boundaries are not always spoken. Sometimes they are simply shown through behavior, through what you tolerate, through what you ignore, through what you walk away from. Because walking away from nonsense requires more strength than engaging in it. You also accepted that control sometimes means letting people misunderstand you. Sometimes it means not defending yourself against every false opinion. Sometimes it means allowing time to reveal truth instead of forcing explanations. Because controlled people think long-term. Emotional people think moment to moment. And you decided you would rather build lasting respect than win temporary approval. Most people panic when things go wrong. The moment plans fail, pressure rises, or unexpected problems appear, their emotions take control. Their voice changes, their patience disappears, and their thinking becomes chaotic. They rush decisions, they blame others, they create more problems than they solve. Chaos exposes people who only feel strong when life is easy. But you became different somewhere along the way. Instead of breaking under pressure, something in you became quieter. When situations become tense, your mind doesn't speed up, it slows down. While others are getting louder, you are getting more focused. While others are losing emotional balance, you are finding yours. And that difference is what confuses people the most. They expect stress to shake you the same way it shakes them. They expect pressure to make you emotional. They expect problems to make you react without thinking. But when you remain calm, it disrupts their expectations. It almost feels unnatural to them because they are used to emotional reactions, not controlled responses. What they don't realize is calmness in chaos is usually built through experience. People who stay calm during storms are often people who have already survived storms before. You probably learned at some point that panic never fixes anything. Stress never improves decisions. Emotional reactions never make situations clearer. So instead of feeding the chaos, you learn to stand still inside it. There is also a mental advantage in this. When you stay calm while others panic, you automatically see solutions they cannot see. Stress creates mental fog. Calmness creates clarity. While their thinking becomes narrow, your thinking becomes strategic. You start noticing details they miss. You start seeing patterns they ignore. You start understanding consequences they never consider. Because your mind is not drowning in emotion, you also understand something very important. Chaos is temporary. Most situations that feel intense in the moment pass with time. But the way you behave during those moments can either damage your reputation or strengthen it. Anyone can look confident when things are smooth, but people remember how someone behaves when things become difficult. When you stay composed, you silently communicate strength, not fake strength, not loud strength, real strength. The type that comes from emotional stability. The type that comes from knowing that losing control will only make things worse. People might not compliment it openly, but they register it mentally. They start seeing you as someone reliable, someone grounded, someone who doesn't collapse when situations become uncomfortable, and reliability always earns quiet respect. Another reason your calmness stands out is because it acts like a mirror. When someone is acting emotionally and you remain steady, they become more aware of their own instability. Your patience highlights their impatience. Your quiet thinking highlights their impulsive behavior. Sometimes this even irritates people. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your control exposes their lack of it. You also develop the ability to detach emotionally from situations that don't deserve your full reaction. Not everything is personal. Not every negative situation is an attack. Not every problem is a crisis. Many situations only become big because people emotionally inflate them. You refuse to give small problems big reactions. That alone protects your mental strength. Calmness also allows you to choose your battles wisely. Emotional people fight everything. They waste energy on every disagreement, every opinion, every slight. But when you stay calm, you naturally become selective. You ask yourself, does this matter in a week? Does this matter in a year? Does this affect my real goals? And many times, the answer tells you to stay still instead of jumping into noise. You also understand that chaos often reveals character. Difficult moments show who thinks clearly and who collapses mentally. They show who looks for solutions and who looks for someone to blame. They show who adapts and who complains. And during those moments, your calmness becomes your advantage. While others are emotionally exhausted, you still have energy. While others are mentally scattered, you are still focused. While others are reacting randomly, you are moving intentionally. You may not even realize it, but this also builds a psychological reputation around you. People begin to see you as someone who cannot be easily shaken, someone who doesn't overact, someone who brings stability instead of drama. And in a world full of noise, stability becomes rare. Some people chase attention through chaos. You gain presence through composure. Some people try to look strong by being aggressive. You show strength by being unshakable. Because anyone can become part of chaos, very few people can stand inside it without becoming it. Most people spend their lives trying to become powerful on the outside. They chase status, money, recognition, influence, and validation because they believe power comes from what people can see. But what they often miss is that the strongest form of power is invisible. It lives in the way you think, the way you interpret situations, and the way you control your own mind when life tries to test you. Your real power was never in how loud you could be or how intimidating you could look. It was always in how strong your mindset became. Because mindset decides whether pressure breaks you or builds you. It decides whether negativity distracts you or motivates you. It decides whether setbacks stop you or teach you. Two people can face the same situation and have completely different outcomes, simply because they think differently. You started understanding that your mind can either be your greatest weapon or your biggest weakness. If you let doubt, fear, and other people's opinions control your thinking, you slowly lose confidence without even noticing. But when you train your mind to stay focused, disciplined, and emotionally balanced, you develop a strength most people never reach. You stop taking everything personally. That alone changed your mental strength. You realized that many people act from their own insecurities, their own pain, their own jealousy, and their own lack of direction. Their behavior is often more about their internal battles than about you. This realization gave you emotional freedom. Because when you stop internalizing everything, you stop carrying unnecessary weight in your mind. You stop overthinking every comment. You stop replaying every negative moment. You stop giving small-minded opinions big space in your thoughts. That is mental discipline. You also trained yourself to think long-term. Weak mindsets look for quick validation and instant results. Strong mindsets are willing to stay patient. You understood that real growth is usually slow, quiet, and sometimes even invisible. While others get discouraged because they don't see immediate rewards, you kept building internally. Because you understood something simple: what you become matters more than what you show. You also became careful about what you allow into your mind. Not just food for your body, but food for your thoughts. The conversations you entertain, the negativity you listen to, the environments you stay in, the voices you take seriously. Because mindset is shaped by exposure. If someone constantly surrounds themselves with negativity, excuses, and small thinking, their mindset slowly becomes limited. But if someone protects their mental space and feeds it with learning, awareness, and self-control, their thinking becomes sharper. You started guarding your mind like it was your most valuable asset. Another part of your power is emotional endurance. Life tests everyone, but not everyone develops resilience. Some people break after criticism. Some lose direction after failure. Some quit after rejection. But a strong mindset absorbs these things differently. You started seeing failure as feedback. You started seeing criticism as information. You started seeing rejection as redirection. And that mental shift made you harder to stop. You also developed self-trust. Instead of constantly needing approval, you started relying on your own judgment more. Instead of asking everyone what they think, you started asking yourself what makes sense. Instead of copying what everyone else was doing, you started paying attention to what actually works for you. Because a powerful mindset is not just about thinking positively. It is about thinking independently. You also learned to sit with discomfort without running from it. Most people escape difficult thoughts through distractions. Endless scrolling, endless talking, endless avoiding. But growth usually requires facing uncomfortable truths, admitting weaknesses, fixing bad habits, changing perspectives, letting go of ego. And that requires mental courage. You became comfortable improving quietly. You didn't need to announce every improvement. You didn't need applause for every step forward. You understood that the strongest transformations often happen privately before they ever become visible publicly. This also made you mentally dangerous in a positive way. Because while others were focused on appearances, you were focused on evolution. While others were competing externally, you were upgrading internally. You also realized that protecting your peace is not weakness. Walking away from constant negativity is not avoidance. Choosing mental stability over drama is not cowardice. It is intelligence, because your mind performs best when it is not constantly under emotional attack. Your mindset became your filter. It filters what deserves your reaction. It filters what deserves your time. It filters what deserves your focus. And most importantly, it filters what deserves to live inside your head. Because once someone controls your thinking, they control your direction. But once you control your thinking, very few people can control you.